You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
It would be helpful if I turn on my mic. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk, Bobcat, Saloon radio show, where I am broadcasting from North Idaho in an actual free state. It is August the 12th. I had to look. August the 12th, Tuesday night, the year of our Lord 2025. And I welcome you to the Saloon. I happen to be this guy. I am your conservative Sherpa, who is guiding you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. And so essentially what you're going to hear for the next 2 hours consists of my opinion and my opinion only. But wait, there's more. And also that of my guest tonight. And have I got a great guest for you tonight. What am I doing? I'm doing the job that the American media maggots fundamentally won't. I am changing America one leftist diaper at a time. We don't water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversations. We are still serving stiff drinks in the Saloon, along with facts, history, logic, rationality, proportion, clarity, context, tradition, and common sense for people like you that watch the show. And we talk about essentially everything: politics, religion, crime, economics, race, sex, science, law, everything. Nothing is verboten here in the Saloon. Not a thing at all. We talk about it all, except the speech is free, but the booze customarily is not. Remember, this is important. Free beer tomorrow in the Saloon. You should be here. Most deaf. And so I'm streaming on a whole bunch of places right now. I've got people already making comments here. Canada Heavy Hall is weighing in. Hello to Canada Heavy Hall. And also, oi, the unpleasant blind guy. What up, Canada? What up, Carrots? And Mission Ready Men is here. Earl Jackson from Mission Ready Men. And you can watch him every Tuesday and Thursday morning on Mission Ready Men at, let me see if I get this right, 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 Central, and noon Eastern for Mission Ready Men. And also Canada Heavy Hall, the sky. And Big E, welcome everybody here. Thanks for being here. Now, I have a great gentleman who is, I haven't spoken to in quite some time. And this happens to be Ralph J. CHITTAMS Sr. Now, Ralph, I'm just going to be blunt. Ralph is an old hand at being on radio shows. And perhaps you may be asking to yourself, why would that be? Well, there's a really good reason. Let me go back just a little bit. I once again have the honor of talking to Ralph J. CHITTAMS Sr. A lot of people haven't seen him. He may be new to some, but he's been, and I counted. Ralph, you may be shaken to your core, to your very roots, but I counted you have been on this show 12 times. This time makes the 13th. Good or bad?
Lucky 13.
Lucky 13. So Ralph used to have his own show right here at the SHR Media Network a few years ago. And so Ralph happens to be my number one go-to guy when I want to talk about common sense, when I want to talk about conservatives, when I want to talk about religion, and another important topic that we're going to talk about tonight. In fact, the last time I had you on was 2021. And this was before I moved from California, always spell it with a K, where I held a roundtable discussion, if you recall, with three other pastors on the topic of sort of the general state of religion today. And one of the things that I included was the big overarching question is man inherently or fundamentally good? Well, folks, with Ralph and 3 other pastors on, would you believe that show ran a full 3 hours and everyone weighed in? It was a great show. Now, if you want to watch some of the, or look at some of the articles that I post tonight or the videos that I referred to, you can go to the SHR Media, the BZ's, Berserk, Bobcat, Saloon, Rumble channel. And if you go to that tonight's show, you will see all the show links in there. And I will also display for everybody to watch that great show with 4 pastors and Ralph CHITTAMS. It was 3 hours and it went like boom, bada bing, bada boom. And it was really quick. It was a great show. And Ralph, I hope it's not going to surprise you when I say something similar to, I'd like to reprise that show again, but I have some other people that I'd like to bring in. So I'm just kind of curious if you may perhaps be up for that. I am not sure, however.
Let's do it. Come on. I'm up for a challenge.
Okay. This was also back in the day when I had no video. I didn't know how to run anything. And I was lucky. I was so incredibly lucky to be able to figure out on a phone, one phone, how to hook 4 conversations up through this phone. For me, a techno-Luddite who is clearly technically challenged, OMG, that was difficult, but by God, I managed to pull it off. It was absolutely astounding. It was great. The other thing that I want to go into, and then I'll have Ralph kind of give his CV, if you will, so to speak. Hey, Cosmic Bard, welcome to the Chatterroomabus. That's the technical term right now. And I got this from a website, and I think this summarizes you pretty well. And then at the conclusion of this, you kind of tell me and kind of fill in for me, if you would, pretty please, some of the things that I'm obviously going to leave out. Now, you were born and raised in New York City. You came to Washington, D.C. in 1978 to attend Howard University, where you graduated having a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science. So in 1983, you married your college sweetheart, Patricia, and this union has been blessed with 4 children, 1 daughter-in-law, 1 son-in-law, and 2 beautiful granddaughters. And you are a pastor, so you are Pastor CHITTAMS. You've been preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ since 1998. You've earned a Master of Arts in Biblical Studies from Maple Springs Baptist Bible College and Seminary, and you have a Master's of Divinity degree from the Liberty Baptist Theological Seminary. And you are this, I read this and I thought, okay, I got to see some of this. I did not know, or I did not remember. You're also a classically trained pianist and organist, but that's sort of just a fraction of your story. So Ralph, can you kind of fill folks in, please?
Okay, well, first, let me fill in some of the bio stuff, because I don't want all my kids mad at me. All of my children are married, and I am now my wife and I are now up to 5 grandchildren. Good. 5 grandchildren, yes. Like you said, my undergraduate degree is in political science, and then I have the 2 master's degrees, in religion. And another good friend of ours, Lonnie Poindexter.
Yep.
How he describes me is, he says, I live in the intersection of faith and public policy.
Okay. And a good one to be in.
Exactly. And so I think that's pretty accurate.
Well, the other thing is that a long time ago, back when I was working and I was in homicide, there was a guy who was a reserve on the sheriff's department where I worked. And this guy ended up being, he graduated from the military. He was a colonel a reservist with the sheriff's department. He also was a doctor, and he was also a pathologist. And so, unfortunately, I can't remember the guy's name now. But when I had my homicide scenes, he was the only path that was interested in coming out and looking at my homicide scenes. And after a while, I had to call him, dude, you are an absolute underachiever. And Ralph Chittams, you are an absolute underachiever. I wish someday you'd have some darned accomplishments to yourself. So, my gosh. So let's start at the start. Oh, I forgot to put this up here. Uno momento. This outs you kind of a little bit. This is from a video that you have, and let's listen.
So the first question is, who are you? Okay, Ralph J. Chittams Sr. I live in the swamp. I live in Washington, D.C., about a mile from the Capitol.
That's all we need to know. And that's why you're here tonight. And so my first question is, that seems to be a clue. Are you still in D.C.? Are you a resident of D.C.? Please say yes.
I still live in that same house.
Do you? Okay. All right. Beautiful. This is the issue du jour of the day right now. What's going on in D.C.? And there is another gentleman who we both know and love, and I would have asked him to be on the show tonight as well, except he has had some issues, and that's Ken McClinton. But in sort of an unfortunate way, I will be referring to Ken McClinton and his family a little bit later on in the show, because he was affected personally, directly, by being in D.C.
Yes.
And so I hope that tonight you can confirm for me all the horrible things that are spouted by Republicans and conservatives and President Trump and those rotten Trump followers that are they're false, they're wrong, they're treasonous, they're anti-freedom, Marxist, misleading, and heretical. Or do I have it all wrong, sort of?
Oh, it's all wrong. Everything that President Trump is doing right now in the District of Columbia is legal, it's constitutional, and it is in fact supported by the DC Home Rule Charter, specifically Section 740. He is not doing anything outside of his constitutional authority as the chief executive of the United States of America.
Okay, so it kind of started with this. Let me put this up on the stage. This is from Breitbart. Trump placing D.C. Metro Police Department under direct federal control and activating the National Guard. This was back on August 11th. And actually, I think it was a day before that. Mm-hmm. And this has thrown everyone, not exactly everyone, up in arms, topsy-turvy, upside down. How dare he do something similar to that? And yet you said, wait a minute, this appears to be something that is in fact lawful. And you actually quoted a section about that being lawful. And this is during the show tonight. And Ralph, with luck, you can be on for about an hour or so, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay, super. I've got so much stuff that I would love you to comment on. A lot of this stuff is videos. A lot of the couple of the things are overlays, like graphics to show people. One of the first ones is this. Here is, and I'm sorry, I apologize up front. Anytime that I hear the name Bowser, I can't help but think of the Warner Brothers sad floppy dog from the 1960s that was called Bowser. But this is what she had to say. Trump will neutralize Antifa and destroy deep state infrastructure before them. Unhappy Washington, D.C. Mayor Bowser calls Trump's step for a takeover of D.C. police unsettling and unprecedented.
And while this action today is unsettling and unprecedented, I can't say that given some of the rhetoric of the past, that we're totally surprised. I can say to DC residents that we will continue to operate our government in a way that makes you proud.
So let me ask you, Ralph, has Mayor Bowser made you proud of the way that she's been operating DC government now for those many years?
Overall, I give her a failing grade. Overall. Now I just want to back up and say something a little humorous.
Sure.
When I hear Bowser, I think of the game Donkey Kong.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because the main bad guy was this huge monkey named Bowser. I'm not saying she's a monkey. So all you racists out there, just calm down and sit down and shut up.
Hold your mud. Hold your mud right there. Don't be stupid.
Right. But no. Overall, I give her a failing grade. Crime in DC, they want to say that crime is going down. Okay, great. So crime may have gone down a little bit, but what does that mean when you still have people who getting shot and killed and beaten up and assaulted and raped and walking out of the... Here's a prime example of what's going on here in DC. This 19-year-old in DC was put on trial for being in possession of an illegal handgun. He got on the Metro bus in DC, shot a man in the chest on the bus. Now, to me, that sounds like attempted murder. This case got to Jeanine Pirro as the U.S. Attorney General because he was 19 years old. She tried the case. He was convicted. But in D.C., the city council passed a law that if you are convicted of a crime and you are under the age of 25, the judges have complete authority to do whatever it is they want to do with you in their courtroom. And this judge let this 19-year-old who shot a man in the chest on the Metro bus with an illegally possessed handgun, she let him walk out of the courtroom with no jail time and told him to go to college.
But when you hear things like that, people in other cities, other towns, maybe other counties and whatnot, the first thing they think, and I would believe rightly so, is, including myself, is, okay, how is that being taken? How is that being digested by the people that actually live in DC limits? Is that something that's popular? Is it something that people find heinous? Is it something that mostly people ignore because they mostly don't care? I mean, how are people supposed to process this kind of thing? Thinking, or do they think? Thinking that, that could have happened to me on that transportation.
Well, in DC, we have two groups of people who support this type of foolishness. There are two groups of people who support this type of foolishness where most of the common sense DC residents, Democrats and Republicans alike, are outraged by this. But these two groups that we have in DC, I describe them this way. We have this area in Washington, D.C. that I refer to as Upper Caucasia. And this is where all the liberal white Karens live. And, they're the ones that, they treat black people as infants and, we're not responsible and we can't be held responsible and we need programs and you can't lock up the poor black children. They're poor and they're impoverished and they can't do any better. And so they support this type of foolishness. That's the first group. The second group that we have that support this foolishness is our generational curse of single mothers here in the District of Columbia who have been producing these miscreants for the past 40 years. And their favorite phrase is, my baby didn't do nothing. So no matter what these, and they call them kids at 25, no matter what these kids do, there's always an excuse. It's the white man's fault. They're in poverty. They can't do any better. How do you expect them to get clothes for school? They have to steal. And so you have these two groups of people who have the access to the microphone and get these idiots elected on the DC. We have the most, I don't even call them progressive politicians on the DC Council. We have the most regressive politicians on the city council who pass stupid legislation like this one that allowed this 19-year-old to damn near kill somebody and walk out of the courtroom free as a bird.
But it seems to be a huge conflict, Ralph Chittams, because okay, you've got the white Caucasoids, and I worked in the FBI at the WMFO, and so for a while I was posted in Washington. And Washington, as you well know, obviously is one of the most crazy, schizoid, nutso towns, because one of the first things I learned is, okay, when I first got there, I had to see some of the sites and whatnot. One of the first things I found was that, okay, just behind the Supreme Court, about a block away east, if I recall, is everyone's protected in the Supreme Court. Each building has its own set of police in their own department, essentially. A block east of there is abject poverty like you wouldn't believe. Everything changes as though they've just beamed in from someplace other than DC. It is a schizo, weird town, and it seems to be, it's like, isn't it easy for the Karens to say that? Because my guess is they're not living in the areas that are subject to that crime. Coupled with,
not to the same extent. Absolutely not. There's crime in their community, but it's nothing close to what other areas of the city are dealing with. It's not even close. To your point about, I first came to Washington, D.C. to visit in 1976.
Okay.
The centennial, the whole 9 yards. So I came, I was born and raised in New York, so I forget who sponsored the bus trip. But there was a bus trip from New York to come down here to Washington, D.C. Let me tell you, I don't know what route that bus took when it came into D.C., but from the time it crossed the border into the District of Columbia until we got downtown to 11th and F Street Northwest, I did not see a single Black community, because they know how to take people around this city to hide the underbelly of Washington, D.C., so that the tourists don't see it. But what's happening now is the criminal element is now invading the National Mall, and it's invading other parts of the city where usually they did not go. And so now you're seeing, the assaults like of that gentleman who, I forget his real name, but the one who worked at Doge, who's referred to as Big Balls.
Right.
Things are now happening in other parts of the city where it typically didn't happen. And people are now going, wait a minute, they're not supposed to be coming over here. Why aren't they staying in their neighborhoods?
Well, the meaning, well, first, number one, first bell of the night for being accurate. Number two, avoidance of, there are no problems here in DC. And number three, it's a crazy town. The crime primordially has always existed. I think it peaked, if I looked at some charts, and I think I have some, little bit later, right around COVID, right around Wuhan 19, 20, 21, 22.
Yeah, there was a spike just after the COVID.
We're pretty darn high. But it's like, the problem has always been present. It's just that you weren't there to open your eyes to see what existed essentially all along. And the conflict that I find somebody somewhere has to have a huge issue trying to reconcile is the parents of the suspects versus the mothers and the fathers of the victims. That has to be a continuous clash of minds and philosophies. How does DC manage to live with that huge schism within itself?
It exists because, like I said, you have one group of people who view Black people as infantile, who can't do any better. And then you have the second group of people who view Black people as victims of white supremacy and racism. And so when you have a president like Donald Trump who steps in and federalizes the Metropolitan Police Department, which he clearly has the authority to do, and then also wants to bring in the National Guard, which he also clearly has the authority to do,
and
to bring them into the District of Columbia, even though he is going to make the lives of citizens safer, their hatred of Donald Trump supersedes their own safety.
I got to play this, and then I want your input on this. This is, I'm guessing, I don't know for sure, and that's the reason you're here. I can't say for certain. You're in it, you see it, you've been witness to it for decades. Here's a guy that's on, I think it was MSNBC, and this is what he says. He fears everything, but getting mugged in DC. DC's fine.
I think it's really important to be clear about what is going on here, and a relatively small crime problem is being used for specific authoritarian purposes that we know and understand. So let's be clear about, DC does have one really big crime problem, which was the January 6th insurrection incited by the current president of the United States. And his first act in coming back was pardoning all the people who tried to overturn constitutional.
Okay, false. He didn't pardon all the people. You're starting with a lie. That's
public.
I'm sorry, Ralph, go ahead.
No, he's a flat out liar. It was not an insurrection. And now we need to clear up something else right here and right now.
Please.
For your listeners who may not know, the president of the United States, doesn't matter whether it was Trump, Biden, Obama, Bush, Clinton, it doesn't matter who it is. The president of the United States of America does not have the authority to deploy the National Guard on the grounds of the United States Capitol. He does not have that authority. That authority rests with the Speaker of the House, working in conjunction with the Capitol Hill Police and the mayor of the District of Columbia. Now, the president does have the authority to mobilize the National Guard within the territorial confines of the District of Columbia in general, but not on the grounds of Capitol Hill. Now, going back to January 6th, President Trump reached out to the mayor and Pelosi 2 to 3 days prior, telling them that he was more than willing to send the National Guard. All they had to do was make the request, which was required for him to send the National Guard. They did not do it. So the fact that the National Guard was not on Capitol Hill was not the fault of Donald Trump. It was the fault of Nancy Pelosi and Muriel Bowser.
And that's interesting, okay, because don't think that I don't have some information about that. And don't think that I'm not here to ring Ralph J. Chittams Sr. out completely tonight with regard to what he's seeing in D.C. We're going to have to take a break. We'll be right back after these announcements. I want to continue with these videos. It's a target-rich atmosphere. I've got so much to go over. And again, my thanks to Ralph for being here tonight. And we'll be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Mission log entry. I mean, let's face it, who's even counting anymore? The Lost Wanderer is officially off course, chasing rogue rocket launches, fringe science, and things that probably violate causality. If it burns fuel, bends time, or makes scientists very uncomfortable, yeah, I'm probably going to talk about it. Every other Sunday on KLRN Radio, The Lost Wanderer, because space doesn't come with a roadmap, and honestly, I wouldn't follow if it did.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here's Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? You need to check out Mission Ready Men via Earl Big E Jackson on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and noon Eastern. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
I'm BZ. I'm back. Thanks for listening tonight. You are in the Saloon, BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. And tonight we have the distinct privilege of talking to Ralph J. Chittams Sr., who is a pastor, a strong conservative voice, and a resident of D.C., who sees every day what is happening in the District of Columbia in front of his face, at home, at work, every day, which is why I've got Ralph here. And instead of listening to all the specious crap that passes for facts these days, I thought, hey, get Ralph. Number one guy. Number two lives right there. So let's have some truth tonight, which is why I brought in Ralph. And again, thank you so kindly for being here tonight. Ralph, I want to play the rest of this to kind of indicate to people this is what sadly a lot of folks are thinking right now. The DC doesn't need any of this.
in Washington, D.C. When I go to D.C., I'm not afraid of losing my wallet so much as I'm afraid of losing my vote. I'm not afraid of losing my wallet so much as I'm afraid that my children's freedom to breathe will be stolen in a world where climate change policy is non-existent. I'm afraid that the future of middle-class people will...
Okay, stop. I've had enough of that crap. Climate change. Ralph, I don't understand why you don't understand. DC is all about climate change. It's not about what you think it is. It's about purple skies and little pink ponies and all that kind of stuff. Or am I just way wrong, Ralph? Please.
Everything in DC is driven by money. But I want to deal with this silver-haired moron that you had up just a few minutes ago. He says that he doesn't worry about, walking around the streets of DC. Let me tell you a fact. I live in DC. I am a legal gun owner in DC. I have a concealed carry permit in DC. And the only time I'll leave my house without my gun is when I get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and I need to run to the supermarket because I don't have eggs for breakfast. But if I'm out in the street anytime after 12 noon, I'm carrying my gun with me, because that is how you never know when something is going to just pop off in DC. I was out for dinner with a friend of mine maybe about a year or so ago, and we're crossing the street, and this whole group of miscreants is out there riding these motorcycles and ATVs. None of them have licenses. None of them have insurance. They're popping wheelies up the street, making themselves a nuisance and a danger. And one of them threw something and hit me in the chest. I wasn't doing anything but standing there waiting to cross the street. I didn't say anything to them. I didn't do anything to them, but simply because they have no respect for life, liberty, or anything, they thought it would be cute to throw something at me. Suppose it hadn't hit me in the chest and hit me in the face. Now, they're very lucky that night I didn't have my gun, because I might have shot his butt right off his ATV. But this guy's saying that he doesn't worry about anything when he comes to DC. That's because he's an ostrich and he's walking around with his head in the sand. And so when he gets knocked upside the head, he won't see it coming. And that woman that's sitting on the panel with him, Simone Sanders, who used to work for Bernie Sanders, she's just as useless and just as stupid, because she says she's more afraid of walking the streets now in Washington, D.C. as a black woman, because the police department have been federalized and the National Guard is here than she was before there was an increased police presence and all the miscreants were running wild in the streets.
How do you rationalize that? I mean, how do you put up with that? How can DC continue? Now, I think
it does. It doesn't continue. DC doesn't continue because we have an electorate here in DC that is so ignorant that they keep putting people in office because they have a D in front of their name, even though every policy that they propose is antithetical to their benefit. But because it's a D, that person gets elected. The first attorney general that we had here in DC was a guy named Carl Racine. He was an absolute freaking disaster. The guy that we have in here now, Brian Schwab, he's another one. All he wants to do is sing Kumbaya, pat these criminals on the head, let them out the front door, tell them that life will be better. Just be a good boy, Pinocchio. You're a good boy. And then that's supposed to solve all the problems. And then we have this string of regressive Democrats on the city council who come in and pass these stupid laws that let judges bypass sentencing restrictions and let 19-year-olds who shoot people walk out of the courtroom free and clear. But I, as a legal gun owner, if I am just in possession of a magazine that holds more than 10 rounds, I am a felon, and they will put me in jail for 3 years and make me pay a $12,500 fine. But he can shoot somebody and walk out the courthouse.
It's insanity writ large. I can't think of any other way to put it. Mission Ready Men, Earl Jackson, who is a friend of Sean Lewis, and they both used to work together back east in police, said, I used to live in D.C. I hated it. I had some cops arrest somebody on the hood of my car one night. Someone got shot, and I came out the next morning. There were blood stains on my car. And he says, this is around the time that Marion Barry got caught on camera smoking crack, which is amusing, but not so. As an aside, I said I wanted to do this, and I think I owe Ken this, and I would have liked to have had him here tonight to perhaps explain in depth. A very good friend of ours, Ken McClinton, who also had a show on the SHR Media Network and then went off to his own network, to ECN. He had his stepdaughter, 27-year-old Charnice Milton, who was a reporter in D.C. She was shot and killed in 2015 while returning home from a journalist assignment. And this is a quote from one of the articles. And you mentioned this just now in 2025 from 2015. 10 years later, still going on, the D.C. police said Milton was shot to death May 27th, 2015, by a gunman among ATV riders who were shooting at another group of riders on Good Hope Road near Naylor Road Southeast. She was making a bus transfer and going home after covering a neighborhood advisory commission meeting at Eastern Market. This is a quote. 2 gang members were beefing, and one of them held Charnice as she was crossing as a human shield, and the other shot her point blank, said Ken McClinton, Milton's stepfather. The other dropped her to the cold ground.
Yep.
As of today, the case is cold. It's beyond cold. It's freezing. It's frigid. Nothing was done. Nothing is being done. Her case just that year in 2015 was one of 60 unsolved homicides from DC in 2015. And so it goes. And so it continues. We spoke before the show, and I wanted to read this. This is about another resident. I can refer to the name or not, but this individual said, I try not to post political stuff on my page. This is from Facebook. Most of the time I just lurk, but I am tired. I am tired of individuals who seem to only see the world through the prism of race. When you're looking for specific behaviors, guess what? You will find it. I refuse to see the world that way, and I am exhausted by those who do. I see the ugly side of DC and Baltimore through my work. I see what people do to one another. I see what statistics fail to catch. This is reality, and I also deal in facts, cold, hard facts. I encourage people to try it sometime. They might learn something. Fact. This is something that you had already mentioned. Under the Home Rule Act of 1973, Section 740 and related provisions, Washington, D.C. remains a federal district. D.C. is not a state, never will be a state. It would take an act of Congress literally to change it, and that won't happen. Read the Federalist Papers sometime. Therefore, that means Congress, and by extension, the president, retains ultimate authority over certain functions, including public safety. Like it or not, the president has the legal power to direct MPD, that's the Metro Police Department in D.C., under federal oversight. That's not opinion. That's law. That's fact.
Yep.
In fact, she said, when I served as an advisory neighborhood commissioner, my life was threatened repeatedly. MPD strongly encouraged me to get a concealed carry permit because drug dealers put a credible target on my back. I fought against prostitution, drug dealing, public drinking, urination, other open-air crimes in my community. Where were you all then? Where were you when I posted photographic evidence of the siege in my community? Many of you told me to, quote, get a life, or, quote, leave them alone. They weren't hurting anyone. How many of you would be okay with someone slashing your tires? peeing against your car, your house, or open sex acts. How many of you came and invited them to behave like that where you lived? Exactly. None of you. Where were you when the children that folks are so concerned about murdered, beat, raped, and or robbed and killed others? Or when 14-year-olds ran carjacking crews? Or when a 15-year-old shot and killed another teen for a pair of shoes? Or when a 19-year-old walked out of a courtroom after murdering somebody with an illegal gun? Hey, sounds very similar to what you just said, Ralph. These aren't hypotheticals. These are DC headlines. They're facts. So let's have an honest discussion about the so-called crime stats. They've been cooked. They've been downgraded. They've been reclassified. They've been buried under bureaucratic definitions to make the city look safer than it is. Anybody who lives in the hardest hit neighborhoods around DC knows the truth. Residents live under siege. Anybody who knows a member of MPD knows they will tell the truth in private conversations, but definitely not in public. This isn't about political party or race or economic class. Safety doesn't have any color, no income bracket, no political boundary. It's about the basic human right to walk down your own street without fear of being the next victim. So before you politicize this move or posture about the children, ask yourself, is being safe in your own neighborhood a right worth defending no matter who holds the authority to do it? Personally, I think it is.
Absolutely.
I couldn't agree more. Visit this upon, say, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard. Visit this about any leftist enclave in Maryland surrounding D.C. How long would they put up with that, Ralph Chittams?
Well, we know how long they put up with it in Martha's Vineyard, because 3 days after they put a whole bunch of illegals up in Martha's Vineyard, the good white folk up in Martha's Vineyard ran them all up out of there, didn't they?
Isn't that amazing? And funny thing is, Ralph, that's when I got kicked off of Twitter, back when it was Twitter, because I said, imagine that. All these loving leftists are not so bueno when crime and illegal invaders are visited upon them. Boom, off, done.
Right. And also, in DC, our police districts, it's set up as districts, and we have 7 districts spread out over 8 wards. And in the 3rd district, one of the officers in the 3rd district is currently on a paid suspension because he was cooking the crime numbers so that it would appear that there were less violent crimes and felonies occurring, so that the mayor and the council could look good. And so they could say that, yeah, there's been this reduction in crime, but he's cooking the books. And then down at the courthouse, they're playing games with reclassifying crimes and criminals so that they don't get reported as felonies, and so that DC can lie and say that the crime rate is going down.
And imagine that. Ralph Chittams, would you be surprised if I had that story up? There it is right now, buttressing the fact that Ralph just told. This is from 4 Washington, DC police commander. This isn't a line level officer. This isn't a sergeant. He was a DC police commander, suspended and accused of changing crime statistics. Let me make this mention. Well, first, let me go over the story a little bit. He's under investigation for allegedly making changes to crime stats. The MPD confirmed Commander Michael Pullman placed on paid administrative leave in mid-May. That happened just a week after he filed an equal employment opportunity complaint against an assistant chief, and the police union accused the department of deliberately falsifying crime data. And the union claims police supervisors in the department manipulate crime data to make it appear violent crime has fallen considerably compared to last year. If I could make an observation, pretty please, with you right now, Ralph Chittams. I happened to watch, there was a show on HBO, I think way back in 2004, and it was called The Wire. And it was from a book called Homicide by David Simon. David Simon wrote the book. I read it when I was in Homicide. It was a great book. Now, he's pretty hard left, as a matter of fact. But the funny thing is, he also was a major writer for that series on HBO, The Wire, and said something similar to, even back then, there was a scene where people are saying, you know, in Compstat, basically all the commanders of the districts, they cook the books. They've been cooking the books then, they're cooking the books now, and they likely will be cooking the books in the future. So when everybody says, oh, the truth, let's know about, the stats are proper. Really? Really, you're going to go there? The stats are right. The stats are proper. Let's look at some stats. Here's this from Carolyn Levitt. Make D.C. safe again. 2024 murder rate. Well, Washington, D.C. has 27.54 per 100,000. Now, for those of you who are in Spreaker or on podcast and can't watch and see the graphic that I've got up there right now, I'll read it for you. At the top is Washington, D.C. for the highest murder rate. Under that is Bogota, Colombia, 15.1. Mexico City, 10.6. Mexico City, wait a minute. The capital of all the damn cartels in Mexico, Islamabad, has 9.2 per 100,000. Lima, Ottawa, Paris, Havana, Delhi, London, Madrid all have a lesser murder rate per 100,000 than DC. Let's go into this too. Inside DC crime, there's the source down at the bottom, Rochester Institute of Technology Center for Public Safety Initiatives. DC had the fourth highest homicide rate in the United States in 2024 with a rate of 27.3 homicides per 100,000 people. That's odd. I just showed you that. DC's homicide rate is almost 6 times higher than New York City's rate of 4.7 homicides per 100,000 people. I just happen to know this. DC has a population of 704,000. New York City has a population of 8.4 million. Equals what the hell? DC's homicide rate is 4 times higher than LA's rate of 7.1 homicides per 100,000 people. DC's homicide rate more than doubles Newark's rate of 12.2 homicides per 100,000 people. DC also beat out Atlanta, Chicago, Compton, and Oakland. But okay, no problem. Everybody's safe, right? There is no issue with that. Or is that? Is there? Is that just a line of crap? Are the books cooked? Ralph Chittams let me ask a basic question. I worked for 41 years in law enforcement. Could we count on DC to be what? Could we ever count on the probity of Washington Metro's police department ever? Just a question for you, sir.
Well, definitely not now. I want to go back to the story about the commander in the 3rd district. Now, understand what he was doing. He wasn't doing in secret. He wasn't doing it behind closed doors. He wasn't doing it, at the midnight hour in a dark room with only a desk lamp. Everybody knew what he was doing. The reason why he's getting jammed up now is because he and his girlfriend or wife filed a complaint with Human Resources regarding some disparate treatment regarding how she was being treated. And so to shut him up and to get him in line, they used what they had on him for years to discredit him and to shut him up. So he's not an anomaly. They're using him as a sacrificial lamb to tell everybody else, shut up, go along to get along, or we are going to take the dirty linen that we have on you for the past however many years we have it, and we are going to crucify you with it.
We'll rub you out with it, because if it's common knowledge and you push back just the slightest against the flow, we will find something. Closet meet skeletons, and then they open the door. That should come as no shock whatsoever.
There's this, what I affectionately refer to as the Mutual Blackmail Society of America that operates within the District of Columbia. And the Mutual Blackmail Society of America, it exists in the Senate, it exists in the House, it exists within the district government, it exists within the lobbying community. And what it is everybody has dirt on everybody else. But if you keep your mouth shut about me, I'll keep my mouth shut about you. And then we can stay in power. And then we can play the other favorite game in DC called the K Street Shuffle, which is when your party is in power, you're on Capitol Hill. But when your party is not in power, then you move over to K Street and you get all the lobbying jobs. And then when your party gets back in power, you leave K Street. The party that lost power goes back to K Street. And all they do is swap chairs on the Titanic because they all have dirt on each other and they're making each other rich.
So those who aren't familiar with K Street, when you make a reference to K Street, what do you mean?
It's where a lot of the lobbying firms are. The companies that get paid, $5 million to lobby Capitol Hill so that, they can get their drug approved, which has been proved to kill people, like Remdesivir. So K Street is where you make your money as a lobbyist. K Street is where people with security clearances go after they leave the government and sell out for millions of dollars because they have access to the military-industrial complex. K Street is where you go to make millions when you're not in government. And then when your party wins, then you leave K Street, you get back into the government, and then the losing party, it's their turn to make the money on K Street as lobbyists.
So essentially, it's a circular robbery squad.
Absolutely. And at that level, there's no such thing as a Democrat or Republican because it's all about the Benjamins.
I got 3 more minutes before the top of the hour break. I think I got enough time to put this in here. Here is such a weird thing. Here is an ABC News newsreader saying and conflicting with the standard rote, which is, oh, DC's fine, DC's safe. Well, apparently not. Let's listen. I think this is about maybe a minute or long or so. Let's listen.
We've been talking so much about the numbers, and yeah, usually that's how you play devil's advocate, is you talk about, oh, well, stats say crime is down. However, I can tell you firsthand here in downtown DC where we work, right here around our bureau, just in the past 6 months, there were 2 people shot. 1 person died, literally 2 blocks down here from the bureau. It was within the last 2 years that I actually was jumped walking just 2 blocks down from here. And then just this morning, one of my coworkers said her car was stolen a block away from the bureau. So we can talk about the numbers going down, but crime is happening every single day because we're all experiencing it firsthand while working and living down here.
Imagine that. Someone who has been personally victimized believes that they have an actual claim in making a contestation about what's going on in DC. Mm-hmm. I said, I'll leave this. I'll mention this and then we'll come back. Hey, first things first. Ralph, are you okay coming back after the top of the hour break?
Sure. I can come back.
Okay, great. Outstanding. I said this a long time ago. This is one of the few times I actually got sent to IA. And I had a little tete-a-tete with an assistant district attorney where I was working at the time. And I said, this is personal. You don't take it personally. I understand that that's part and parcel of your job. But the other thing is, every once in a while, you need to look between the multisyllabic nuances that all you see happen to be on your desk. And realize that crime is intensely personal. And trust me, it would be even more personal if more ADAs, if more district attorneys, if more city councilmen, if more politicians, if more people that were involved in local government, if more people that were part of agencies, if more chiefs, if more sheriffs, if more judges got raped, sodomized, were cut, stabbed by crime. Trust me, if those things happened, oh my God, everyone's viewpoint would change. Guaranteed. Here's your letter. Here's your days off. I'll be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
In a world where leftists are running out of metal for the safety pins of their soothing red diapers, one man stands alone, attempting to fundamentally change America, one leftist diaper at a time. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, is guiding you through the maelstrom of Democrat leftists and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Listen to BZ Saloon on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. Eastern on the SHR Media YouTube channel, Twitch, KLRN, Rumble, and X at BZ Saloon. It's one great late-night conservatarian talk radio show. Be there. Aloha.
Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name is Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRN You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRN Radio.
It's Sean from the Edge of Liberty. Just like the Bidens, I too am moving. Only in my case, it's days and times. That's right. You can now find the Edge of Liberty Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 Eastern on the SHR Media Network. Join me as we talk politics, news, alcohol, fun, not so much fun, clowns, small kittens, large kittens, dogs, amoebas, and anything else that just pops into my mind while I'm on the air. That is Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast, on YouTube, X, KLRN Radio, Facebook, Twitch, and anywhere else a good podcast is found. Please check out our website, shrmedia.com. I will see you live on the air.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high-quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this. You rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl Gear. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic woman who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. Because life's too short for stiff, boring tees. CarryGirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being, and in the good that comes from exercising these rights well. The founders of our great nation chose independence, as do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
It's the first hour. The first hour has gone away. It's gone. Never to return. Never to return. Never to return, except that I will post the show in about 2 hours after the ending of this show. And you can watch and listen on the podcast if you want. I get a lot of people watching live, and I get a lot of people watching on the podcast as well. And the other thing, let me put this down here for just a momentito, little momentito. If you would, please look down below. I'd like to point this out to you. And that is, we broke 500 YouTube subscribers about a couple of months ago, if I'm not mistaken, the SHR Media YouTube channel. And we are two subscribers away from 600 subscribers. Hey, if you're watching right now tonight or listening in podcast, subscribe. That could be you. You might be the 600th subscriber to the SHR Media YouTube channel. So let's continue now, if we could, please, with Ralph Chittams, who is my guest tonight. And that's because A, he's a good guy, B, he's a good guy, C, he's a good guy, D, all of the above, and he lives in DC. So he's been regaling us with various tales of truth and not circumstances regarding DC. If I might be so bold as to put this up, things have changed. Ralph Chittams, this is back in 2023. U.S. Attorney for DC declined to prosecute 67% of arrests in DC as the nation's capital suffered a crime spike. Chicago and Philadelphia declined to prosecute just 14% and 4% of arrests. So I have to ask, maybe you've said this before, what's the difference between, I don't know, Chicago, Philadelphia, and DC? What do we chalk that up to? What's the difference? Okay, first, I get it. You have to make an arrest. Sure. That's on the Metro Police Department. But then
they do.
And then you got to prosecute. But what is up with failure to prosecute?
The prosecutors in DC are more concerned about their conviction rates than they are about trying criminals. If they are not guaranteed a conviction, they are not going to prosecute the case. They will either plead it down to nothing or not prosecute it and let the person walk completely free, because they're more concerned with their success rate in prosecution than actually representing the people and protecting the people from these miscreants.
That's, okay. I discover myself more and more gobsmacked by the things that are occurring these days, for which I have something similar to, I'm left without words. And these days, I am more and more left without words. Here's an article from the Washington Reporter. Scoop. Thank God, President Trump's historic takeover of DC's safety is praised by residents. One female Hill staffer, The Hill, who pays $3,000 a month for rent in Navy Yard. Now, stop right here just for a second. Ralph Chittams, can you tell us what or where Navy Yard is and kind of the background of that area?
Navy Yard is an up-and-coming area in the District of Columbia with a lot of young professionals, a lot of way overpriced condos. It's the area close to where the Nationals baseball team has their stadium. And it has become a terror zone. a terror zone, because you have these gangs of teenagers that go into that Navy Yard community and literally terrorize the residents.
Anyway, she says she pays $3,000 a month for rent in Navy Yard. Told the reporter that she, quote, saw someone get arrested the other day in my lobby at 5:30 p.m. Somebody also got shot in March, and the blood puddle was left overnight, and everybody saw it in the main lobby. For the first time in years, Trump's announcement has many in the city feeling hopeful. One GOP veteran told the reporter that he felt safe walking around his neighborhood where he and his wife were nearly shot in broad daylight for the first time in 3 years. And this is the kind of stuff that, of course, the American media maggots are not going to tell you. They're not going to write about this. You will not see this broadcast in the American media maggots and trumpeted loud and clear at great length on ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, CNBC, CNN, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, no.
Because it's the truth.
It's all true. And when we talk about crime, let's understand we're not just talking about violent crime. There is a Harris Teeter supermarket in Navy Yard, in this upscale community. They had to implement ghetto security measures. You can't come in the store with your own shopping bags over a certain size, and you have to show your receipt when you leave the store to make sure you didn't steal anything. See, so there's this whole subculture of lawlessness inside the District of Columbia. You know, you have the people, you know, gang rushing, you know, the Lululemons and the other stores, and, you know, walking out with thousands of dollars worth of merchandise. And the store clerks have been told, don't intervene, don't stop them, leave them alone, let them take it. And so there's this whole culture of lawlessness that exists within the District of Columbia, in part because everybody knows that if you're under 24 years old, nothing is going to happen to you.
Here's Carolyn Levitt, and I hope you're not shocked, Ralph CHITTAMS, who we're speaking to right now. I hope you're not shocked that I have a lot more to talk about. Here's Carolyn Levitt. Let's hear what she has to say, and then directly beneath her, I'd like to see if I could show this map. But first, Carolyn.
Approximately 850 officers and agents were surged across the city. They made a total of 23 arrests, including multiple other contacts. Last night, these arrests consisted of homicide, firearms offenses, possession with intent to distribute narcotics, fare evasion, lewd acts, stalking, possession of a high-capacity magazine, fleeing to a lewd in a vehicle, no permits, driving under the influence, reckless driving, and a bench warrant. Approximately.
So that's just over the past couple of hours or so. Let me see if I can get this map in right now. There we go. Good. You can actually see it. Year-to-date carjacking offense heat map. So I can only assume that where it's red, carjackings are over the top.
Absolutely.
But wait, there's no crime in DC. There's no crime in baseball, and there's no crime in DC. And it would appear to me that that indicates, not quite so much. So if you would, I don't know if you can see the little teeny cursor right here, Ralph CHITTAMS, this red area that I'm circling right around here, where's that? If you can see that.
Okay, that's in and around, honestly, the White House.
Okay.
That's downtown DC.
Okay. And then it looks like we've got a bunch of stuff that's occurring down on the lower square, this area right in here.
That's predominantly wards 7 and 8, the two poorest wards in the city where most of the crime occurs.
Okay, so that would make sense. But now, as you've indicated, it's spilling this way.
Yes.
Sort of a northwest area.
Correct.
If you would. And so it's everybody's concern now.
But now zoom into that again.
Okay.
Now, if you look where you see on the left-hand side, you see Friendship Heights Village,
right,
and
up
Brookmont.
Here.
See, that's Upper Caucasia. How many carjackings do you see in Upper Caucasia?
I don't see it. I see a little blinky circle of orange, like right here. Other than that, nope. All the red is way down here.
Yep, there you go.
Way down here.
That drives the point I made earlier in your show.
Well, and again, another reason that I am ever so glad that I had you on tonight. And here's another positive thing. DC mayor, leaders, police union react to Trump's takeover of MPD. You know what Bowser's going to say. However, the DC Police Union said, the DC Police Union, representing over 3,000 officers of the Metropolitan Police Department, MPD, today acknowledges and supports the president's announcement this morning to assume temporary control of the MPD in response to the escalating crime crisis in Washington, D.C. The union agrees that crime is spiraling out of control and immediate action is necessary to restore public safety. So, if the coppers on the line are saying it, something tells me that they're a lot more believable than the commanders and the captains and the supervisors and the police chief, which I believe is herself. Or am I way wrong on that, Ralph Chittams?
No, honestly, most of the police officers, the rank and file, the blue shirts, are good people. They want to protect. They want to serve, but they have been hamstrung by the politicians who have told them that they can't do their jobs. And if they do their jobs, the likelihood that they are going to be suspended or fired or fined is very, very likely. So they go out on patrol and they see something. They know better than to intervene because the bleeding heart liberals are going to cry, you didn't have to do that to him. He just stole a candy bar. He just broke a window of a car. You didn't have to do that to him. And so the police, truthfully, a lot of them see the crime and don't even bother making the arrest, because they know all the time, energy, and paperwork that they're going to put in to process this person is going to be for naught, because by the time the ink dries on their paperwork, that person will have already been released from the system, probably without bail, and will be committing another crime in less than 24 hours.
So it's like, okay, it's similar to what's the point?
Right.
What is the point of putting in all this work and not seeing results? And that also extends out towards, in terms of law enforcement. It used to be that cops were fighting officer survival. In other words, will I survive the call to which I'm being assigned? Now they have to worry about career survival. So if you have to worry about career survival, and you realize that, in the political climate in which you currently work, you're essentially one bad call away from suspension or from a civil suit or from criminal prosecution, then what am I knocking myself out for?
Right.
And that'd have to be a valid question. I'm going to play something, and this is one of those videos where I have to say, after hearing this, after listening to this, even I am stupider for having heard this. Here's somebody that said, I shake my head. What the hell? Let's just play it. You tell me if this is weapons grade stupid or not.
During the discussion, residents did not hold back, voicing their frustrations.
I blame the system.
Many questioning why kids aren't being held accountable.
We as a city and a community need to be much more focused on prevention and surrounding young people and their families with resources if we want to be safer in the long run. We cannot prosecute and arrest our way out of it.
We cannot prosecute and arrest our way out of this. Excuse me. Did anybody ask you to do that? And the answer, I believe, is, I don't know. Ralph, help me. Help me here. Ralph, please throw me a lifeline, please.
Well, I mean, he is correct in the fact that we are not going to be able to arrest and incarcerate our way out of it. But let's be very clear. There are some people who need to go to jail.
Oh, God, yes.
Period. End of discussion. Hard stop. There are some people who need to be taken out of society, put behind bars, and locked away for the betterment of society. They refuse to do that. They refuse to do it. And I'm sorry, but sometimes you have to make an example out of a few people to get the other folks to act right.
Nailed it. And you're right. What that guy said was partially right. You can't arrest everybody. But on the other hand, they're willfully sticking their heads in the proverbial sand in terms of, well, I guess there's nothing else really much we can do except maybe use kind words at them. And at the very worst, maybe we'll resort to sarcasm, harsh sarcasm. That will make everyone come around. No, it won't.
Right. We're going to give them. We're going to create more basketball courts so they can play basketball. We're going to have more. If I hear anybody say the word program one more time, I swear I am going to scream. We don't need programs. What we need are parents who take responsibility for their freaking children. Raise your kids. Teach them respect. Teach them. I remember when I was growing up, I was told that my last name meant something. That when I went out in public, the name CHITTAMS, you're representing your family. You're representing your name. Your name means something. These kids aren't taught that. These kids are taught that they're victims. And if somebody has something that they don't have, it's the white man's fault, and they're within their rights to go take it.
Well, it's funny you should mention that because it is the white man's fault.
One of the things that we have seen over and over from the president, from his team, Stephen Miller saying it's like Baghdad in Ethiopia. They seem to hold their harshest criticism sometimes for cities that are majority Black and brown. Do you see that, and what do you think that means?
I think that I have been dealing kind of with this issue for a number of years. It's kind of easy fodder on the campaign trail.
Okay, stop just for a second here. The issue at hand is not Atlanta or Portland or Seattle or Los Angeles or San Francisco or Chicago. The issue at hand is DC. And when you have this kind of crap happening in the nation's capital, and you may as well take your hand and just slap the hell out of President Donald John Trump, OMB, Orange Man Bad, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, because you're doing this directly in front of him. He is taking it as an affront. He's here. The Capitol is here. The building is here. The seat of government is here. Our incredible memorials are here. All of the things that hold this nation good and true that people would love to visit, he's standing up for, which also includes all the people in DC. But doing that because all of this stuff is happening right in front of his face. Ralph Chittams, is he supposed to just ignore that?
No, he's not supposed to ignore it. And again, they want to talk about, people only want to talk about, crime in Black communities. Okay, The cities with the highest white population in the United States: Hialeah, Florida, 92%; Lincoln, Nebraska, 88%; Boise, Idaho, 87%; Gilbert, Arizona, 87%; Laredo, Texas, 87%; Spokane, Washington, 85%; Corpus Christi, Texas, 80%; El Paso, Texas, 80%. Do you want to know where those cities fall on the list of most crime-ridden cities in the United States?
Not like you've done your homework or anything.
Not one of them is in the top 50. So,
but wait, we're told, she says, Ralph Chittams, she says it's racism.
No, it's a fact. Unfortunately, the cities with the highest concentration of minority residents are the ones with the highest crime rates. That's not racism, that's fact. Now, if you want to change the dynamic, then people need to train their kids, and the adults need to learn how to get some act right.
Sadly, that's not purchasable at the supermarket, but I know exactly what you mean.
Absolutely.
You know, it's again a matter of, and God, Ralph, I said this in the 70s when I worked the street. I worked for the feds for a while, decided I didn't like the Fed structure or the Fed thing. I was a reserve for a department in California and then got picked up full time. But I said then, and I said now, you know what? We're going to have to do one of two things. If we're going to survive as a society, we're going to have to abandon a generation in order to rebuild the other. So we either abandon the newest, younger generation, or we're going to have to abandon the parents. One of the two, because every call, and I taught this to all of my trainees, every call to which you are assigned and sent, it all has to mean something, or it all means nothing. And our being here is absolutely pointless. And I said, what we need to do is we need to focus on the future, because what you've had for altogether way too many years is children raising children, and then the results should essentially be not, we shouldn't be shocked. We shouldn't be shocked. Ralph Chittams, let's see.
See, here's another stat that people don't really want to talk about, because this drives the point home. The poorest wards in the District of Columbia are wards 7 and 8.
Okay.
In Washington, D.C. Since 2009, those two wards have not seen the single motherhood birth rate drop below 70% since 2009. So 7 out of 10 babies born in Ward 7 and Ward 8 since 2009 are born to single parent households. And that's as far back as I could grab a quick stat. But here's the bigger issue. In Ward 7 and Ward 8, in these poor Black communities, these girls are having babies at 15. Their mama is now 30. The grandmama is 45. The great-grandmama is 60. And ain't none of them ever been married, and there's never been a man in the house, and they've been living in generational Section 8, getting SNAP benefits and welfare for the past 40 years. So when you're raising children in that environment, you're raising the girls to emulate their mamas and their aunties and their grandmamas, and you're raising the boys to be nothing but a bunch of hyper-emotional, testosterone-laden punks who have no self-control. And then you wonder why inner city America is in the shape that it's in right now.
And you've taken, like you say, Larry Elder has said, any number of people have said, when you remove the father from the equation, you're damaging all of society. I'm BZ. I will be right back after this. Please don't go away.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Listen in to the Reaver of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a show equipped for bombast. Tune in Mondays and Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, and 6 p.m. Pacific, featuring a refreshing dose of reality. Jersey Joe fearlessly tackles the tough topics with no nonsense. Just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com, where you can hear the Reaver of Common Sense in action. He may not always be polite. He may not always be refined. But one thing's for sure. He always tells it like it is.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? Then check out Seven Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with Seven Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com. 7armors.com. Faithful, vigilant, steadfast, passion.
Are you looking for bold and honest conversation about the issues shaping America? Well, let me welcome you to Unleashed 101 with Jeremy Hansen, where we take you beyond the headlines. We dive into politics and culture, struggles of everyday life. It's raw, real, and unfiltered. If you're ready for truth with a punch, pull up a chair and join us. That's right, Unleashed 101, where real talk feels like home. Find us at unleashed101.com, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and more. We look forward to seeing you. Unleashed 101 with Jeremy Hansen.
Freedom. One nation in all of human history was built on that bedrock. Ours. A republic of the people, by the people, and for the people. Self-government requires freedom, just as freedom requires an individual willingness to self-govern. Freedom has made America exceptional, but it can only last as long as you and I seek the good, as expressed by the laws of nature and nature's God. It can only last if you and I choose to act as people of character. Forging character has been the pursuit of Hillsdale College since 1844.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
I'm BZ. It's the final half hour. Drink up, Shriners, because the saloon is not far. It's about this far from closing. So, last call for alcohol. Again, I have not checked, but we are 2 subscribers away from reaching 600 subscribers on the SHR Media YouTube channel. You, yes, you, I'm looking directly at you there. You, sir, you, ma'am, you could be one of the 2 people who push us to 600 and over the top for 600 subscribers. How incredible would that be? And to that, I also reply, I think it's, let's see, where is this? Shoot, now I can't find it. It doesn't matter. This guy, once again, my producer, Merlin Queffel, took a day off. And he said, hey, can I have Tuesday night off? And I said, something really important? And he said, yes, I need the night off. So he's not here. I'm running the board by myself. This is Ralph Chittams. He is also here. Ralph has been all night. He's been the very kind gentleman that we know him to be. I want to run some articles, if I could, by you, Ralph. One of them, it should not surprise you, sir. One of them we've seen before and is really important and is really, really critical. Let's put this one up first. It's from Fox News. This should shock nobody. DC paid protester requests surge 400% amid Trump's federal takeover of city police. CEO says vast majority of political event attendees in Washington are paid in some way. Wait a minute there. Are we saying that these are not spontaneous and grassroots, just immediate protests that just are generated because of the will of the people and they need to find a way to express themselves? And that's apparently all bull, I guess. Ralph Chittams.
No, these are all organized protests. Look, all you have to do, if you want to figure out if a protest is generic or if it's organized, is look at the signs that the people are carrying when they hit the streets. The signs that they're carrying now about Donald Trump and the federalizing of MPD, they all have the same stylized lettering. They all have the same verbiage. They all are on the same type of paper. They are all using the same type of polls for support. These have been mass produced. This is not a generic DC resident driven protest in opposition to Donald Trump. This is a politically motivated attempt to discredit and honestly continue the efforts that they tried to do in his first term to drive him out of office. They're already talking about more impeachments.
Yeah, that's very true.
So no, this isn't generic. This is George Soros organized nonsense. See, this is why it was so important for USAID to be taken down. Because USAID was getting billions of dollars from the United States government. And what they were doing is they were taking that money and funneling it to nonprofits and NGOs, 99% of them progressive Democrat leaning. And then they were taking those government funds, which were supposed to be used for humanitarian purposes, and using them for political purposes. But nobody had to report how the money was being used, because once USAID gave it to the NGO and the nonprofit, it became a huge slush fund that they could use to support Democrat policies, politicians, and policies.
Let me put this back up on the stage. Well, not back up on the stage, up on the stage tonight for the first time. And you've seen this material before, folks, haven't you? So I'll read this for the people that are listening in podcast. They can't see the article, so I'll read it to you. And then I'll give you the date and the topic and the information. This is from The Guardian. This is an article that happens to be from the 28th of April, 2015. Wow. 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. What happened 10 years ago? I wonder. Well, let's read the top of the lead. Troops roll into Baltimore as Obama urges U.S. to start soul searching. City poised for military enforced lockdown to prevent further rioting. Obama admits there are some police who weren't doing the right thing. The city of Baltimore was poised for military enforced lockdown on Tuesday. This is, again, I refer back in 2015, in an effort to prevent another night of rioting over the death of a young black man, as President Obama urged the U.S. to begin soul searching over its growing crisis in race and policing. But this was okay. This was fine.
Yep.
It was a lockdown, but it was by Barack Hussein Obama. And everyone was saying that, Well, wait. Why aren't these people the Stasi, the Nazis, the fascists? So what you're saying is essentially, folks, it's okay when Obama does it, but it's not okay when Obama considers the welfare of citizens in Baltimore. That's fine. That's okay. They're just riots. Come on, move on. But once OMB does it, it's bad. He's a fascist. He's a dictator. He's a wannabe king, as has been said on any number of times. Yeah. How do we reconcile all of this? It's just so silly and stupid and fattening, Ralph Chittams.
Honest, what we do is we don't duck and we don't run from the fight. You know, if somebody tells me Donald Trump is a racist, I just have a few questions for them. You know, was Donald Trump a racist when the NAACP gave him the Lifetime Achievement Award? Was Donald Trump a racist when he financed Jesse Jackson's first run for president? Was Donald Trump a racist when Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson made pilgrimages to him year after year to help fund their fake religious organizations? Was Donald Trump a racist when he took care of Jennifer Hudson's family when her mother was murdered? Was Donald Trump a racist when all of these things happened? When did he become? Tell me exactly. When did Donald Trump become a racist? And then they're going to try to say, well, the Central Park Five. Okay, well, the judge and the prosecutors in that case were Democrats. You haven't called them racist. Were they racist? See, we don't run. We don't duck. We stand there and we take a punch and then we throw some punches. And we throw our punches with ill intent.
Here's something that during the break, I'm shocked that I've been able to run a show so far because I'm primordially a techno-Luddite and a moron. But while you were speaking not long ago, I was searching for a quote from Larry Elder. I'll tell you a brief story about Larry Elder. We met Larry Elder at SHR when we were at Freedom Fest in 2017. Mm-hmm. And Larry Elder was kind enough to come and actually sit at the table with us and have a discussion. We interviewed him for just about a full darn hour, a super guy. And I had no idea up until that point, really, who Larry Elder was, but Freedom Fest is a conference for libertarians, mm-hmm. and I wasn't sure that he was a libertarian, but we started to talk to him, and we found out, man, I want to tell you, this guy is sharp and thinks on his feet. And so, having said that, let me go to this. I was looking for this quote, and I'd like your input or your thoughts on this, Ralph Chittams, and I found it. Larry Elder said, and this is directly attributed to himself, the formula for achieving middle-class success for anyone is simple. Finish high school, don't have a child before the age of 20, and get married before having the child. What could be simpler, more logical, and yet so difficult, apparently, than that?
Nothing, because that's it in a nutshell. Graduate from high school, go to college, or get a trade, because Lord knows we need tradesmen in this country.
Oh, boy.
Don't have children out of wedlock, get married, and then have children. That is the key to opening the door to a middle-class lifestyle in the United States of America, and it is not race dependent.
It's open to anyone.
Everyone.
Paint job, immaterial.
Yep.
Absolutely immaterial.
Immaterial.
And now, Ralph Chittams, see, you opened the door earlier in the first hour, so I'm going to walk through it right now. Because that's who you are. You bring good stuff up. and I have to admit it. Let's put this up on the stage. Well, would it shock or surprise anyone to know that Nancy Pelosi, ex-speaker, said something really, really stupid, and the person who was best situated to reply logically and with facts responded? So August 11th, that's just yesterday. Speaker Pelosi said from her X platform, Donald Trump delayed deploying the National Guard on January 6th when our capital was under violent attack and lives were at stake. Now he's activating the DC Guard to distract from his incompetent mishandling of tariffs, healthcare, education, and immigration, just to name a few blunders. Well, first is, I know how, but I'm gonna ask you the question anyway, Ralph Chittams. How do people get away with this? How does she get away with this? It's such a continuing false narrative, an abjectly massive lie, where the only response is one that I found right here. I'm going to put this up. Oh, gee, look who it is. It's Chief Stephen Sund, who was the Capitol Police chief on January 6th.
Yep.
And officially, his statement goes exactly like this in response to Pelosi. Ma'am, it is long past time to be honest with the American people. On January 3rd, I requested National Guard assistance, but your Sergeant at Arms denied it. Under federal law, 2 U.S.C. Section 1970, I was prohibited from calling them in without specific approval. That same day, Carol Corbin at the Pentagon offered National Guard support, but I was forced to decline because I lacked the chief of police of the Capitol State Police.
Yes.
I lacked the legal authority. On January 6th, when the Capitol was under attack, and despite my repeated calls, your Sergeant at Arms again denied my urgent requests for over 70 agonizing minutes, running it up the chain for your approval. When I needed assistance, it was denied. Yet when it suited you, you ordered fencing topped with concertina wire and surrounded the Capitol with thousands of armed National Guard troops.
Facts.
Do what I say is the reversal theory. What, Ralph Chittams, what possibly would have occurred were the reverse true when let's say Johnson, as Speaker, if it was perceived that the White House or the Capitol was under assault, and Johnson said, nope, I will not defend this building. I refuse. Well, I can't send in national troops, the Capitol State Police chief would have said at the time, until you approve. No, I am not approved. What would have happened under that scenario, Ralph Chittams?
The Democrats would have gotten torches and pitchforks and marched on the Capitol and tried to lynch him. But what the Democrats have done in this country since Trump's first term is created such hatred for Donald Trump that they have created a body politic that is willing to suspend all logic and reason and live in a constant state of hatred for a man, regardless of what it is he says or what he does, and they will believe any lie that is told that makes him look bad.
It's absolutely incredible. And I want to go back to some stats. I'm not sure I covered them all before, but I'm on a different profile right now on a different page. Facts about DC. Homicide rate is 6 times higher than New York City. DC has a population of 702,000. New York City has a population of 8.4 million. The homicide numbers are 16 times higher in DC than Havana. DC carjackings are up 547% from 2018 to 2023. That's post Wuhan 19. 90% sit down, folks, if you're ready for this, because this is going to link directly to what Ralph said about juveniles. 90+% of DC carjackings are committed by juveniles with an average age of 15. DC Metro Police has already been caught skewing crime statistics. And what they do is this, I discovered. DC Metro Police would report a crime involving a gun or a knife as a felony assault because the FBI Uniform Crime Code system doesn't record felony assaults, but it records guns and it records knives. So you have to go out of your way to do this, to be this deceptive. Let me go back to when I was a cop on the street with a couple of sheriff's departments. When we were working paper, on the flip side of the title page of the crime was what was called the Universal Crime Code. And you'd flip the page over and you would have to code the crime that occurred in the report that you're taking as to what crime it was. And that information was shipped over to records, and those records were shipped over to DC to the FBI. And it's GIGO. All along, it's always been GIGO. Garbage in, garbage out. If your stats are skewed like DC does, that's garbage. And one of the I took a stat class in college a long time ago. And stats can be manipulated and massaged to say essentially anything and everything that you could possibly want.
Absolutely.
This I find amusing also. I'm going to put this up. Washington Post had a great article, right? The Washington Post says DC is safe. But the person that the Washington Post used to consult, well, let me just read this. A Washington Post article published Sunday described DC as a safe city, even as one of its sources declined to be named due to concerns of personal safety. Equals what the hell? This is a quote. This is a safe city, but overhearing and witnessing gang threats and then watching the camera footage of the thuggery is disturbing, said one resident quoted in the Post article. The resident, per the Post, was speaking, I'll talk to you on the condition of anonymity over concerns of personal safety.
Mm-hmm.
Ralph Chittams, you can't write this.
That's
it writes itself.
Yeah, absolutely. But welcome to people who have to be schizophrenic in order to justify their lack of reason.
It's nutty. I'm running out of time. We got 7 more minutes before the end of the show, so I want to put this up here right now. Let me see if I can. There we go. Now, this is a guy named Scott Jennings, and he dropped a little bit of a bombshell about watching a murder in Union Station. And he kind of obliterates that, well, DC is really safe. So there it is. And then he kind of said, well, I don't know. Let's listen.
But there's an obvious difference between DC and any other city in America. A few months ago, I was in Union Station and saw a body hit the floor at the bottom of the escalator in Union Station because there was a murder right in front of me up on the 2nd floor. I was going to get a tie. And I heard the shots and saw the body hit the floor. So I've been listening all day long to people trying to make some argument that Washington, D.C. is a safe place. It's not a safe place. And we can argue about statistics and numbers. There's a police commander right now on suspension because there's some allegation that the statistics have been altered. But we can argue about that all day long. Nobody in their right mind who lives there or visits there on a regular basis would tell you that Washington, D.C. is safe, and everybody who goes there knows it. But there's an obvious difference between D.C.
Is Washington. Let's go to the bottom, the fundamental bottom of it all. And that's one of the main reasons that I had you here tonight. Hey, Ralph Chittams, is Washington, D.C. safe?
Fundamentally, no. No. But let's be honest. No urban city in America is safe. None. All you have to do is make one wrong turn around one wrong corner in one wrong neighborhood, and your life could be over. Does that sound safe to you?
It's not to me. Let me put this up also. Summary table. They're talking about effects on crime statistics. Well, one factor is high non-prosecution rates. Yep. What that means is arrests don't translate to reported crime reductions. And then what happens if you downgrade incidents? Serious crimes are minimized in official counts. Incomplete, it results in incomplete FBI reporting, and they're supposed to be the ones that are the collectors of all the information so that they produce a report at the end of the year. Gaps distort broader trend analysis, and of course, unelected prosecutors, less local accountability on reporting and justice. And one final point. Yes, it's entirely plausible for crime to appear to decline in DC due to how cases are prosecuted, reported, or downgraded, even if the actual level of criminal activity doesn't match the mirrored drop. That said, noticeable reductions in violent crime, like a 35% drop in 2024, also reflect targeted enforcement strategies. So two things, let me point out, two things can be correct at once. And Ralph Chittams, any particular thoughts on that, sir?
And that little stat about having unelected prosecutors. Well, in DC, we have elected prosecutors. The problem with DC is a one-party corrupt Democrat town. And so the only people that are going to be elected are these leftist regressive Democrat prosecutors who aren't going to prosecute the crimes. So having elected prosecutors doesn't mean a damn thing if you are living in a corrupt one-party town that is only going to elect a certain type of person. Honestly, in DC, we need to go back to unelected prosecutors and let them be appointed, for now, by Donald Trump.
So, sort of in passing to wrap this up, and obviously I'll let you make the last presentation and the wrap up. In your opinion, would it take a lot of money to correct what you've been? Well, let me ask you this before I proceed any further. How long have you been living in DC?
I've been living in DC since 1978, except for 10 months.
So in that amount of time, my guess is you've seen everything and you know all that has happened in DC.
I've seen a lot of it.
So, Ralph Chittams, would it take just an amount of money that is so staggering that it can't even be considered to cure the ills of DC, or in truth, would it take a lot of money at all?
No, we already have enough money in the budget where we could deal with all of these issues. The problem is the money needs to be reprogrammed and put into places where it's actually going to do some good. We need to stop funneling these fake nonprofits whose only goal is to feed the executive director because she typically doesn't have any marketable skills and couldn't feed herself if she wasn't getting a handout from the district government to run some fake nonprofit that doesn't have to prove any results and doesn't have to even give a matrix. No, there are some things that we need to do in DC. One of the things we need to do is we need to bring back vocational education in DC. Absolutely. We need to bring back the system that produces middle class stability and middle class wealth. We need plumbers, we need electricians, we need pipe fitters, we need iron workers. We need these type of people that with a high school diploma and a journeyman card, they can make $100,000 a year and get married and have children and raise them up properly. We don't need any more money. There's enough money in the DC budget right now to fix every problem that DC has. It just needs to be reprogrammed and put someplace where it's actually going to be doing some good and not used to pay off some political operative.
So I guess the bottom line, the most pertinent question is at this point is, can it be done? Can DC be helped? Will it respond? Can it be cleaned up? Ralph Chittams.
Unfortunately, I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. Simply because DC is just so entrenched in its Democrat identity and victimhood mentality that honestly, I do not see a bright future for the District of Columbia. I don't. I'm sorry. I just don't.
Okay. Folks, if you don't think this was 2 hours of unadulterated truth, I simply don't know what to tell you. But I will say this. Folks, that was the incredible Ralph J. Chittams Sr., and I'm not going to let him get away tonight without asking a really important question, which he may or may not appreciate. I'm not sure at this point. But again, thank you being here direct from DC, and it's an honor to have had you on the show again tonight, particularly considering, and I say every time, that it's really, really late on the East Coast right now. Like, for example, it's 1:01. It's tomorrow on the East Coast where Ralph is right now. So again, sir, always a pleasure to have you here. And then here comes the question, and that is this. Voices like yours belong on SHR. Any possibility of bringing your show back, sir? Because yours was fabulous. I know life gets in the way. I get it. I grok that concept. But I every time I talk to you, I'm always going to ask you this. What's the chance, maybe, kind of, sort of?
I have been considering it, so there is a possibility.
Okay, wait. I have to reach for this. And to that I respond. You heard it here first. It's not an impossibility. The chance exists. So I speak translative kinds of things. So you're saying you're coming right back then? Is that what you're saying?
No,
okay.
It would require some finagling and some things, but I have considered bringing the show back simply because I do think that an unabashed conservative voice from urban America is missing from the current marketplace.
Exactly. That's and see, SHR was ahead of its time in terms of we had a whole bunch of cool dudes on at one point. We had Ken McClinton. We had Ralph Chittams. We had Lonnie Poindexter. I may be missing somebody. I don't think so at this point, but these are all valid, wonderful, excellent, exquisite, conservative voices who were saying, and SHR has always said, we don't give a crap about your paint job. We just want to know if you love America, love God, and are conservative. If so, give us. We want you in the mix right here.
Right.
And that, of course, is why we'd love to have you back.
Yeah. Well, I love the invitation. I can honestly say I can't think of another show that I come on that's as much fun as yours. And that's why anytime you extend the invitation, I always graciously accept.
Okay. I do that to my wife sometimes, or she does that to me. It's the standard. She'll say something and I'll say, okay, as in, are you really saying that? Because That may come back. Just remember. So, Ralph Chittams, okay. So thank you, sir. God bless you. Again, you're one in a million, a great voice. Oh. Before I go, and I'm sorry for being so rude and not asking you this earlier. Are there any points in either, say, a website or social media or anything that you'd like to point people towards, either about you or causes in which you believe, anything like that? Any website, social media that you'd like to mention before we take off?
No, honestly, I'm pretty active on Facebook. I'm under my own name. So, they can reach out. I'm usually starting trouble over there and, ticking off liberals and making their heads explode. Well, one thing, you did mention I am a pastor.
Right.
And in the next, hopefully, couple of weeks, I do have a book that's coming out.
Oh, cool. Can you tell me the title, or is that verboten?
The title of the book is going to be Lessons from a Shepherd Boy.
Okay.
And what we do in this book is we look at the life of David before he became king, from when he was just a little shepherd boy hanging out, taking care of his father's flock, until just before he becomes king, and looking at all of his trials and struggles and gleaning the lessons that all of us can take from the lives of a shepherd boy. So once we get, like I said, it's in final review now. The editors are taking a look at it. And once that's finalized, I will definitely let you know. And we can let your viewers know that it's ready, and hopefully they'll go out and they'll support it.
Excellent. I got to have you back for that. So that's an excellent point in the future. And obviously, Ralph, every time that you would like to come on for any reason whatsoever, if you got something to say, here's your venue to say it right here. And again, thank you ever so kindly, sir, for being here tonight.
Very welcome. Have a great night.
You too. Thank you. Take care. God bless, and be safe, sir. Wait, let's do that. There I am. So, Ralph, what an incredible guy. He said, now you heard it here first. You heard it here first, because I can see Ralph is still there in the background, and I can see Ralph is smiling. So I just want to remind, he's really smiling now. I can see him. Okay, don't think I can't see you, mister. But hey, when his book comes out, I want to have him back, and I want to continue to emphasize the offer. Anytime you want to come back for any reason whatsoever, you will always have a home and a venue right here. And we hope, Ralph Chittams, that we would be the first place to which you would say, if and when you're ready, that the SHR Media Network has a place just for you. So with that was, do you see now, folks, why I go to Ralph? Do you see now why he is the go-to guy for all the things that I mentioned at the very beginning of the show, right? And so, it is the end. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. It will be conducted by KLRN, Rick Robinson's KLRN, sometime in the future. Not sure exactly when. And thank you for watching live. Thanks to everybody for watching in the podcast. Thanks to all the critterin that were in chat tonight. Spectacularo. Always appreciated when you appear up. You are wonderful people and vertical bipeds. And I can't say anything more than nothing better about you than that, except promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, and also Shure and Electro Voice microphones, the mixer Arrakis that make my mixer, and also Thanks for promotional consideration by the Pratt & Whitney Engine Company, producing a thrust you can trust. Tiaras, and I've got a new one tonight. Look. Tiaras are by My Little Pony, and I will be consorting with my KC 135 Kettle One refueling team in less than 10 minutes. Everybody, goodbye. God bless. Be safe. I mean you, okay? You.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.
Hey, maybe you thought the show was over. What if the show isn't over? What if I play some more comments? God bless Ralph BZ and chat. NCX, he's here tonight. Thank you. She was on the network. BZ left her out. Damn it. It's true. Guilty. Sean says, I will punish him off the air for the oversight. NCX thought, well, that's pretty funny. Makes me want to saddle up again just to get Ralph back on. And also, good night, David. Good night, Chet. Good night to everybody. Hey, while I have you here, I'd like to tell you this. Today's Tuesday. Now, unless, the Phantom came back in. Unless I'm mistaken, I could be. My guess is, my supposition is that tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Pacific, at 10 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. Eastern, my hours just on tomorrow night, Wednesday night, Sean will be bringing his show back. So what I'm saying to you now is, oh my God, I'm back. How did that happen? So, hey, watch the show, watch Sean's show. I will be back Thursday night, but also on Thursday. Let me go back up here again because I need to mention this. Thursday night is going to be, Thursday morning will be Mission Ready Men in the morning. Now, he changed it. Let me see if I can put up, I'm looking for a comment here before he went away. Usually Earl Jackson, who does Mission Ready Men, he leaves after about the first hour because he gets up really, really early. Okay. And his show will be on Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Central and noonish, kind of sort of, maybe noonish, mostly noonish, on Eastern. So I just want to remind everybody on that. And then my Thursday night show, everything is going to change between now and Thursday night. So how do I know what's going to be on? Well, I'm looking over here, and there are a whole bunch of tabs that I haven't even touched yet. So probably some of those will be on the show. But who knows what kind of weird things are going to be happening in the interim. But if they happen, you can bet that SHR will carry it. Two subscriptions short of 600. I'm counting on you. Everybody, take care. Be safe. Good night.